This lesson is going to be on a subject that's very sort of dear to my heart because I've done so much work on it. It's on obesity. In 2005, I wrote a book called Peaceful Weight Loss after losing 100 pounds myself, and see private clients and run seminars and courses and retreats on this subject. And I actually run a whole separate yoga therapy based training on the subject as well. So I have months of material. That training's 6 to 8 months. So I have a lot to say about it. But I wanted to include it here because it's such a big issue for people, and you'll see it so much. And so many people will have it as either a main complaint or a side complaint. So what I'd like to do is give you a brief overview of my approach and look at it through our kosher model and Vata Pitta Kapha and just wrap our heads around it. The other reason I wanted to present it today is I'd like everyone to have a sort of clear vision and sensitivity around this issue, since so many people have this issue tied up with other psychological stuff they're dealing with, and it's kind of easy to do damage by accident when speaking about this subject. So I thought if we had a better model for it, that it would be good, whether or not you're working directly on it. We're going to look for this lesson at the population who are significantly overweight and not due to a medical condition like hypothyroid, right? Something like that, which is not most people. The medical condition is not most people. And we're also talking about, let's say, people who have 50 pounds to lose to be healthy, not talking about the 10 to 20 pounds many people are carrying around. And, you could debate this scientifically, but probably don't have these huge ill effects on them. We're talking about actual people with sort of a serious issue, like a problem that's actually affecting them in their daily lives, as opposed to wanting to be thinner, which is a separate subject. The way it usually works is people go on diets to lose weight, which is a pretty good idea from the Anna Maya Kosha, the food body perspective. So, but as we know, many of the conditions we work with, including this one, cross koshic lines. So this is why people are usually 98% of the time, usually unsuccessful when they try to keep weight off through diet alone, because it's only being addressed in one kosha. So even if they bring that kosha into balance, they can't hold it because, as we know, the other ones are causing issues. And even if they lose weight, all the causes and conditions that got them there also, right, are still present. So energetic, pranic imbalance, mental imbalance, etc. My approach takes all this into consideration. So traditionally, Ayurveda has seen excess weight as a kapha imbalance, which kind of makes sense, right, at first glance, because a sluggishness in the system causing weight to be retained. This could be the cause, but that's more like a medical condition. It could also be a mental condition, but for most Westerners, it's actually more of a Vata issue. So delusion, scattered thinking, inability to schedule things regularly and having regularity in your life, and a big desire for things to be different than they are all linked with excess food consumption. So you see these things a lot related to obesity. So these are all indicators, right, that Vata balancing is needed. It's a society, right, where food is plentiful and relatively inexpensive. Losing weight is a really difficult endeavor. But the healthiest societies on earth all have something in common, which is that they create environments where it's easy to make choices, and especially food choices, that are healthy and good for them. So, like, they don't serve large portions, they don't offer seconds, they don't snack, generally at inappropriate times. It's pretty much the opposite of our culture, which is has a Dunkin' Donuts on every corner, with supersized portions everywhere, grocery stores filled with high calorie, low nutrient snack foods. I say that because we're working with Vata, right? So a Vata imbalanced person moving through this situation is going to have a very difficult time not overeating, right? Because it requires planning and sort of clear thinking, discrimination, sort of not getting confused or diluted, which is not easy when you're Vata imbalanced. So we're going to try to balance the Vata. It's only really through like clear thinking and then getting into our own insight that we can assess our needs and then take appropriate action. So in my thinking, like, there's a basic order, right? to working with this. So number one is reducing stress and balancing Vata. That's like the first thing we're going to do. Number two is increased capacity for awareness and the ability to assess. So you can't do that without sort of reducing the stress and having an environment where your awareness can be expanded. And then number three, once you know what you should do, is taking action. And in that realm, I try to get people to take the action that will be the most benefit for the least amount of effort. And that's different than just taking as much action as possible, which is what people usually do when they're overweight and they decide to do something. And then number four is to continuously reassess so that the path is sustainable, right? In my Peaceful Weight Loss book, I translate those 4 points as one, letting go. That's the reducing stress about to balancing. Awareness is number two. Effort and proper use of effort is number three. And steady, comfortable pose, just like we do in asana, is number four. So that's another way to language those 4 things. Now, that's our order. And of course, most people go on diets as their first step for weight loss, which sounds reasonable, but it's actually totally flawed. So dieting would be the third step in our 3 steps, because that's where we take action, right? And we're only going to do that after Valen has been balanced and awareness is enhanced. So if you think of it this way, how could you choose a proper diet for you when you're not clearly able to feel the effect food has on you? So when I work with this, that's what I do. So I start from the beginning. We have Vata balancing, a lot of moving and breathing asana. We have expansion of awareness in asana, right, into the body. So we're expanding our awareness there, and hopefully that translates into some new neural pathways that are staying more aware. And then we start taking actions. Some of those actions are scheduling and things. And then we take a look at food and what would be the next appropriate step. So if you wanted to know a lot about this, you could read my book, which is a very simple book, but it sort of outlines the steps. But you'll see that it's things like you basically get it together, you eat regularly, you drink water, you do all the basics before you try to reduce your food intake. Now, let's step back again into our yoga therapist model, our Koshic model, and look at the koshas. You've got the Anandamaya kosha, so you need your body to be less of a hindrance. So you need your body to be able to move and to be free of pain and discomfort to promote that stress reduction. So we have some physical things we can do, obviously, as yoga teachers to help with that. Then we have the pranic body, and we seek to balance the pranic body with moving and breathing in asana and pranayama that balances vata, as I was saying. So imbalance causes delusion, and imbalance also in vata also causes lack of consistency. And then you could even extrapolate that and see how imbalance could cause dysmorphia. You're looking at yourself and you're not seeing reality. Also delusion. So we have to balance the vata to make any progress. Then we have the monomaya kosha. And, you know, a lot of times there's a sort of misunderstanding in the conscious mind of the nature of detrimental behaviors one's doing. So whether it's blood sugar, right, being too low, and that's causing you to eat a lot because let's say you haven't eaten the proper foods or in the right time frame, or you're emotionally eating, right, to block emotions or to shift emotional states, the conscious mind needs to be helped to see these things clearly. And we do that through education, most of which is body based. So it's like, well, how do you feel right now physically? How much energy do you have? How tired are you? What changes can we make to shift that? So that's the conscious mind's sort of education, is seeing that providing a stable, healthy place for your body is the same thing as moving towards your goal of a sustainable, healthy weight. Then you have the Vijnanamaya kosha, our unconscious mind, right? And so there's patterning in there that's affecting the Manomaya kosha, right? And, then we've got a problem because it's working all the way up to the physical body. So you could see how balancing the intuition body would be important, because we got to kind of get at those deep patterns, not necessarily by talking about them, although that wouldn't hurt. But usually people have already figured that out. They're sort of root causes of why they're emotionally eating, but actually balancing the body through our techniques that we do as yoga therapists. And then finally, we have Anandamaya kosha. And the way I like to think of this is, an imbalance in the Anandamaya kosha. You'll see a lot of people in these bad places, bad food choices, their body not doing what they like it to do, and they don't have a real connection to their self and other people. So staying connected will help them find their natural bliss and help sort of balance the koshas above it. So it's really important. And the other connection with food is that improper eating, right, stops, imbalances the Anandamaya kosha and stops us from being able to feel properly our natural bliss. So just as it might like stop you from feeling something that you might qualify as painful, improper eating might also stop you from feeling your natural bliss. So you don't want to do that. So those are our koshas and different ways to think about them. But you could see here how, if you just start with dieting and you're not doing all this stuff below it, then as soon as you stop dieting, you're going to gain all the weight back, which is most people's experience. So we're looking in our approach as yoga therapists for long-term success, which is really similar to working with any addiction. So it looks like one thing on the exterior, whether it's food addiction or shooting heroin, right? But that's not the root cause of it, obviously. So you have to deal with the actual food part, but you also, or the addiction part, but you also have to deal with all the things under it if you're going to be successful. And that's why a lot of like sort of protocols don't really work. Really, koshic balance is the key. And then people can make really calm, sane choices. Oh, I bet if I exercised a little more and ate a little less, I'd lose a half a pound a week, right? Because this weight loss is always a long-term process. The Biggest Loser kind of highlights this idea, how many pounds can you lose every week? And you're a failure if you didn't lose any pounds this week. But that's not actually been my experience working with people. It's kind of like a slow, gradual, it has little ups and downs. People revert and gain a few pounds and then lose some. The way the body stores fat, right, is very complicated, so it's hard to say what's going to happen any given week. And really, what you want is someone to be very, very prepared for the process of dieting and losing weight. So, to end, what I'll leave you with is this is that really our job as yoga therapists is to prepare somebody to be in a position where they can do what people without sort of disorders do all the time, which is to calmly assess, right? Maybe diet, like a reasonable diet, be like, I'm going to eat less, I'm going to do the paleo diet, I'm going to be vegan. It doesn't matter, right? All those diets, if they're weight loss diets, will have you eating less food. So we really want our people to calmly assess in what way they can do that. That's not painful for them. Could be slightly uncomfortable, but not painful. We want them to assess how they move and which style of movement is going to make them the most Vata balanced. So we have these practices here. There's another possibility that doing some sort of exercise will allow somebody to see things clearly, in which case it's totally indicated. But we want to get people out of that trap of, if I just pound away at the gym and starve myself, right, I'll get where I want to go. Because if you're talking to them, most likely, right, they've tried that and it hasn't worked. And there is no science and no evidence that that works on the general population at all. So even if you believe that, and even that's the way you think about it, I'm here to tell you with total kindness and respect that you're actually wrong. That's not how it works, right? It's not the same as somebody who doesn't have these issues putting on 5 pounds because they don't exercise, right? That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a disorder that moves across the koshas that needs to be solved. Like many disorders and diseases, as we're seeing across a few or all of the koshas. So I hope that helps kind of wrap your mind around it. I have a peaceful weight loss training if that's of interest to you. There's also a book, and I hope you have a lovely day, and I hope that was helpful. Om Shanti, Om Peace.